To special orders. Representative Clayman.
Permission to speak on Wilda Marston.
Representative Clayman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Wilda Marston, my friend and neighbor, died last Thursday, April 14th. She was 91 years old. One thing I can say about Wilda, her door was always open, the welcome was always warm, and the discussion was always lively and very, very political. To use my grandmother's favorite Scrabble word, Wilda Marston was indefatigable. She was tireless and determined. She was also proud to be part of a bipartisan household, Wilda the conservative and her husband Brooke the progressive. And whether you were there for dinner or for an afternoon visit, you knew that you were going to come and talk about the issues of the day, and you would leave knowing exactly what Wilda thought about them. And that was exactly how she wanted it. She came to Alaska in 1952 to be a public school teacher. One of her early students was the young Ed Rasmussen. And in their later years, I don't think Wilda ever lost an opportunity to remind Ed who was the teacher and who was the pupil. Wilda and Brooke Marston met while they were taking a class in Alaska history at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. They lived for a short period in Indiana in the 1950s before returning to Alaska in 1956. They lived in a log home in what is now in West Anchorage, Linary Park. That log home was destroyed in the earthquake, and rather than move far away, the newly created bluff after the earthquake slump, they built a new house that was finished in 1965, 1 year later on the bluff, and that's actually the house where she lived all of the remaining days of her life, and actually was passed away there surrounded by family last week. Like Arla Sturgeluski, who passed away 1 week before Wilda, she got involved in politics with the League of Women Voters. She was very involved in a lot of local Anchorage matters. She was on the Lusac Library the Library Advisory Board when they built the Lusac Library. She was involved with bonding, planning, and everything involved with it. And it's no mistake that there's a theater in that library that is named after Wilda Marston to recognize her contributions to the library. Libraries were always a concern and important to her, and even in her later days, we were getting communications. Part of the capital discussions is capital funding for a potential downtown library, and you knew that Wilda was communicating with her family saying, you need to contact the legislature and make sure they advocate for that library, because she was never giving up. She also paid great attention to detail. One of my favorite memories when I was serving on the Anchorage Assembly was getting communications from Wilda because she was unhappy about this proposal to create curbside recycling. And what in particular she was unhappy about was that there was a service that she happily paid for that would allow the garbage collectors actually go away from the truck and bring the garbage cans back to the truck from the side of the house or the side of the garage, so people didn't actually have to put them on the curb. And with curbside recycling, that particular service was going to end. So she was none too happy about this, and she made her displeasure known. The change to curbside recycling was adopted, and Brooke and Wilda got on board with it. They had a container in their kitchen, one for recycling and one for garbage. And she proudly told me one day that there are two cans, and one was named Matt, and the other was named Clayman. And when I asked her, well, which one is garbage and which one is recycling, she proudly refused to tell me. That was Wilda Marston. They had an annual holiday party every holiday season, and part of the rules of the holiday party was families were invited, but no child who had not graduated from high school was welcome because there was rum punch, and she had no interest in policing who had access to the rum punch. And she always loved at the party. She'd find a comfortable chair, and friends would come and sit down with her and check in with her. She loved to hear stories about what kids were up to. She loved to hear stories about adventures in Alaska, but she always took the time to remind us about the importance to be actively involved in our community and care about the community that we lived in. I can really say that Wilda Marston was a force of nature, and she gave so much to Alaska and so much to Anchorage, and we are so much better for that. And so I would ask all of us to please rise for a moment of silence in honor of Wilda Marston. Thank you, Madam Speaker.